You are listening to another Third Coast Nerds podcast. Prepare your body.
Welcome, everyone, once again. After a 2-week hiatus, Third Coast Nerds are back. I am Chad.
I am Neil.
I'm Kyle.
And we're joined today by...
Mike.
It's Mike on the mic.
Mike 2.
Mike 2.
I'm assuming me or you are 1. He's in the middle of us, so he's got to be 2.
You're ranking yourself that high?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
I'm in the top 3. There's only 3 of them.
We're back. A lot's happened. Conventions have happened. Movies have happened. Speculation of movies have happened. TV shows have happened. Neil, for your report.
Well, the only con I made it out to so far, I didn't make Texas Frightmare Weekend. I know Ed made it out there, and I'm going to want to talk to him about his time. I don't know if you have or not at work.
He enjoyed it a lot. We've talked about it, and then he keeps going, I'm like, I'm jealous. And go, shut up. Leave me alone.
I asked on Hangouts, like at the last minute, like, oh, when is that? And everyone was like, tomorrow. Well, I guess I'm not going.
I went last year. It was fun. Didn't get to make it this year, but I did hit MagCon up, which is the Mad About Games Con, New Caney ISD. Was kind of a fundraiser / 2 full days of gaming. It was at an annex at a school district. Didn't expect a whole lot out of it. Probably closer to 300 to 400 people throughout the day showed up, which was a pretty big group.
That sounds like a pretty big crowd.
Yeah, I mean, two gym-sized rooms full of tables. One for RPGs and one for just tabletop games. And a lot of the tables were being played the entire time. I mean, I was there maybe 10 hours. I played 6 to 10 games. A lot of people came and went, but it was a lot of fun.
I know nothing of gaming in like the current sense. The only experience I have with like tabletop gaming was what we had back in like, well, I think it was like 6th grade. It was like Warhammer 40,000 or something like that.
40K.
40K.
And it is probably larger than you remember.
Yeah. Because
as much as Magic's grown, Warhammer has also grown.
Yeah, I was intrigued by that because I was like, oh, you get to play with toys, and there's like a game behind it. So I was thinking it was like G.I. Joe and tanks and giant Iron Man guys.
You get to paint them, too, in a lot of cases. So.
Yeah, I ordered the sample action figure, or one of the little figures, and I'm thinking it's going to be like a good 5-inch, figurine, and I get it, and it's like 3/4 of an inch tall.
It's a G.I. Joe. Like, really. It's a metal G.I. Joe.
Yeah, and the macro, because they would send you a catalog for free. And obviously everything was filmed or everything was shot with a macro lens about 3 inches off the figure, which I found out, I guess that's the only way you can really paint them is if you're looking at it through a microscope.
Yeah, I had a guy at my last job who was into it. And the thing he liked the most was painting them. So on his lunch break, he had one of those desk clip, like big one-eyed things that he would just move around and paint. And I mean, even at the last job,
he still paints them.
Does he?
Yeah.
My last 2 places I've worked in, actually, I've seen people do that. There were a few people playing that. They had a pretty big setup for that in X-Wing. The new Star Wars game came out, and that was probably the highlight of what everyone was there for. Armada, I think, was the name of it. I didn't spend much time on it. We should get Garcia on here for that because I know he's buying all the little X-Wing stuff now. But I just hung out at the Steve Jackson Games table most of the day, and then tried a little bit of Star Wars RPG, which I'm not good at. I keep getting told you can't do that, and it's a role-playing game. I can do whatever I want.
Garcia came down for Free Comic Day. I told him to bring it, but apparently it's like a 3-hour game when you play X-Wing. So
at least, yeah.
We didn't get to enjoy.
They had those set up for 4-hour blocks, and most of them were running over. While they were doing the auction, they had the auction on the end of the room that they were playing X-Wing and Armada at, and the games were still going on while they're selling or auctioning things off.
Yeah, in my experience, anything involving Star Wars and games is going to take forever.
Yeah.
The card game, I gave my entire binder of cards to Garcia a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't want any part of it anymore. But playing that game, trying to find anyone to play that game, we'd go to a card night, And this is probably when I was like in 6th grade or something like that. I got this game. I got the Target starter box that had like the white border cards. And I took it to the card shop and went to go sit down with one of them. And I'd take out my deck and they're like, what are you playing with? Because they would come out with like 300 card decks. Like, we're going to be here till at least like 4 a.m. playing this. And it's 6:30 in the evening.
Yeah, I did not last that long. I had a friend from work go and a couple other guys met us up there, Garcia and Jasmine. It was fun. There were...
Jasmine's not a guy, just so...
Yeah, as everyone knows, Jasmine's a female.
We could have left that open to a lot of ambiguity.
Fun. Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
I've already messed with her enough the last week and a half because she stayed in my house for a couple of days. So I'm gonna do that for her because I know she listens.
Of the games I played there, I was introduced to a game called Revolution, which I really enjoyed. Enjoyed enough to buy the game and the expansion for it for my brother's birthday game night.
You don't go light.
No. Well, they only had they had one game and one expansion. I didn't even know there were 2 expansions when I bought it. So the one I bought was not the one I played at MagCon. So I got to learn something new, which was kind of cool. But I didn't plan on giving them the expansion. That was for me. I was just going to order the game since they only had one in person.
Yeah.
And then we sit down at the table and 5 of us want to play. And the main game comes with 4 players. So at that point, I had to go get player 5 and 6 expansion, and Trevor played with us, so it was pretty fun. But it's an interesting game. It's like a bidding game. Basically, you have a board with different sections of a village, maybe.
Yeah.
Inside of castle walls. And you have a bingo-looking bidding board, and you bid against your friends for tiles on that board. And each tile gives you either more currency to bid with or some sort of support units out on the board. So it's like you're basically having to play the game and play everyone at the table at the same time. So, I mean, the first 4 turns... Was this the thing I
saw? It was like SimCity or something like that?
No, not quite.
I saw a picture, I can't remember from where. It was somewhere from MagCon, and it would look like you were building a city.
No. This one, there's little squares are the only thing you put out on a board, and there's a counter around it.
I now want a game where you build a city.
You want SimCity?
No, on rock and roll.
They make Legos for that. But it was really fun playing it there. The very last move, I didn't quite understand what I was supposed to do. When the board fills up, the game's over, you count the number of support, and that person wins. Each section has, say 8 dots on it, and you put your support units there. And whoever owns the most of those dots wins that section and gives you a support count.
Yeah.
Well, at the very end, I was like, well, I can't win it, so I put Garcia on one, and he ended up beating by 4 points because I gave him a 35-point section.
It's kind of like the game Alive for, Trouble. It's the game rules are very easy, but the win condition, no one knows.
Well, this one was just, we didn't know what the cards did, right? Like the board, what we were bidding on exactly. It was our first time to play.
Okay.
But playing it at Dane's house with some of those guys was a little more fun because I knew who was at the table. There was a pirate at the table when I played at MagCon. The guy they had host their auction was dressed up as a pirate. So yeah, and he smelled like a pirate. So I'm sitting across the table.
Did he drink like a pirate?
No, he tried to have an accent.
Should have drank more.
He was all right though. And then I played another Munchkin I'd never played before, Star Munchkin.
You keep talking about this game, and I have yet to see anything about it. We should do that one night.
Oh yes. It's very fun. We have many expansions.
Hey, John, I have it downstairs. You up for a long night?
But Star Munchkin was cool because it had a lot of Star Wars, Star Trek, space cards in it.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of cool things for sci-fi. So it was really a sci-fi version of it.
Well, didn't you end up getting one of the little packs for your Munchkin thing at Free Comic Book Day?
No, I gave that to Garcia. He wanted it.
Yeah,
I did win a pack of some sort of cards at MagCon, but they're in my bag.
That's all the way over there.
Yeah, it's 3 feet away.
No one listening to this knows the dimensions of this room.
This is true. Yeah.
70 feet away.
Make your house sound grand.
But yeah, I mean, everyone seems to be picking up on game nights. My buddy Mark, who came out to MagCon with me, his birthday was the next weekend, and he did a birthday game night, which was kind of fun. And then Dane did one as well. So
it was for his birthday as well.
Yeah, so everyone's apparently when you get between the ages of 28 and 30 something, Yeah, you just do game nights for your birthday now.
Actually, I think it's 25, but at the first part of it, you do LAN parties because that's what we've done for the past few years. You know.
Well, I wanted to do OG Halo, but no one wanted. Everyone complained about consoles.
No, we have a nice little group that will
now
do
they've
that.
made the switch.
No,
No,
yeah,
They're all
everyone's made the
playing
switch.
consoles
We'd
now.
already made the switch. We just didn't have an Xbox anymore.
Yeah. Well, I know the source. I can find them.
Right.
So there was that. I missed out on a lot because I had Austin, I had the race, I had a bunch of other stuff I did, but the Free Comic Book Day, I've never really participated in that.
Free Comic Book Day was fun.
Extremely.
Chris and Jasmine came down. Kyle came over. We had one of the twins with us. We started off at Fat Ogre, and they basically just had 3 or 4 tables of comic books stacked up. You went through and picked what you wanted, and you were good to go.
And every time you go on Free Comic Day, you run into people that you know.
Yeah.
So, like, we ran into Cody, which is, you know, one of the guys I play Magic with. He ran into our previous boss.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you get to kind of, you know, geek out with other people that you normally wouldn't see.
Is this all the podcast has been shout outs to everyone that you know that no one else would know.
Too bad.
Yeah, this is.
But from what I've seen on Twitter and other social media, I saw a lot of comments from like Greg Capullo and Jim Lee and stuff like that. It seems like the publishers are getting behind Free Comic Book Day and actually putting out specific content for that purpose.
They are. All of them have a Free Comic Book Day little like stamp on them. They're designed for Free Comic Book Day. And I know the last couple of years there's been 10 to 15 to choose from. And I know our second stop, because we wanted more than just 5, so we had to go to the second comic book store. We hit up Bedrock City, and they had 40 different things out at least.
Yeah, there was a list online, and I think there was a total of 60.
Okay.
And Ed got all of them.
Yeah, he got lucky.
He went to a quick little comic book shop, I think Generation something in Dallas when he was out there for Frightmare. And if you donated $20 to whatever they're raising for, they gave you all of them prepackaged. Like, just
that's kind of cool.
It's strange. Like, one of the things that we're eventually going to want to uncover on this podcast is all of the hidden avenues for comic books, because it's almost like there's all these different scenes in Houston, and since this is kind of a Houston centric podcast, there's all these different scenes. Stand up comedy is one of them. Comic books. There's all these like underground places that you just have to know someone who knows where they're going to be, and there seems to be a lot of unadvertised comic book spots.
Well, with Free Comic Book Day, I mean, I heard that on the buzz multiple times.
Oh, it's a
leading up to
national.
Like,
it's huge.
It's a huge thing that people know about. I saw.
Yeah, well, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about more in terms of like the comic book stores, the outlets for these things.
There's really not an abundance in Houston and the surrounding areas. On the north side, we actually have more than pretty much anywhere else. Mm-hmm. The downtown area, you really just have 1 or 2. Nan Games is the biggest one right there off of 59.
Yeah.
But I mean, Garcia drove from LaPorte, wherever that is, an hour and a half all the way up to the Woodlands, because we have 4 to 5 shops in a 15-mile radius. So, yeah. I mean, where we're at in near Yuppie Woodlands, there's a good number of comic book stores and gaming places. So
that was kind of the trippy thing about Austin too. We went in kind of in the heart world, more like north downtown Austin, and driving through, because it's all college. It's all college little campuses and different purposes or different schools. But driving pretty much in a 10-block range, just trying to find somewhere for breakfast, I saw at least 6 comic book shops.
Nice.
So they've got a good selection up there. It might be worthwhile to just go up there and kind of tool around.
I will be up there this weekend, Kyle.
Let's do it. I'll be there too.
One of my favorite things about MagCon, because we're still talking about comics, was they had a girl with a cart that brought you snacks while you played games all day.
Yeah, I heard about that for days. They're like, so at this con, you order and they bring it to you.
Yeah, it was actually for a charity event at a school. It was ran better than most large cons. I won a copy of Stratego as a door prize. I put my name in a hat. It came up. My friend Mark, he showed up, sat at the table, played an hour and a half of Star Wars RPG with us, won a copy of Beowulf, and then had to go to a birthday party, so he left. He was seriously only there for an hour and a half to 2 hours, and he won a door prize. They came by every 30 minutes and just picked names out of a hat.
That sounds like a good deal.
And, I mean, they ordered pizza every 45 minutes to an hour. So there was always fresh pizza on a cart being brought to you. It was a fat boy dream.
You missed the Houston Con with Liefeld and Jim Lee, where just about it was in that last hall of GRB, and it's all open. So the main panel room is just separated from the rest of the convention hall by a curtain. So what you hear over the loudspeaker, it's not like the way Comic Palooza is set up where everything has its own dedicated room.
Yeah.
Everything's just wide open. So about every 5 minutes and multiple times in the middle of both Jim Lee and Liefeld's panels, you just heard across the loudspeaker, and the guy had his attitude was great.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're missing a child, we have him. He's dressed as Batman. If you want to see him again, you should come up front. If not, it's not going to hurt anything because he's Batman.
That was the Amazing Houston Con, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I missed that one last year.
Yeah, I mean, it was worth it. I'm more entrenched in the comic book stuff than you guys are, so having Lee and Liefeld there was tremendous.
Well, and they loved the guy too, because I think it was Liefeld stopped and was like, "Search party, let's do this."
Yeah,
he was telling one of them,
that poor man had to run his own panel. I mean, I don't know if there was an intent to have a host, but within like 30 seconds, Liefeld was like, "No, just give me the mic."
Yeah, it was the kid that he kicked off stage. He was like, "Give me the mic." Bye, and then he ran his own stuff.
Yeah, and he was running around the floor and extremely entertaining, incredibly entertaining.
Well, the guy was as shy as Mike has been so far this entire podcast. Because he was up there and I didn't even hear him talk, but he's talking to the mic trying to introduce Rob.
I didn't hear him on stage for really that long. I mean, he was up there and he sat there and he's gone.
Every panel I've ever seen, when they run their own panel, it always turns out better.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I can't remember his name. The brother and the sister.
John Barrowman.
Oh,
John Barrowman.
yeah.
Thank you. All I know him is like the bad dude from the Arrow, and he was on that show I didn't watch. There was a doctor in a Who. I don't know.
He had his own show, Torchwood. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah,
just got told.
yeah. But on the weight of what you told me about his solo panel, I went and saw the one with he and his sister, and it was incredibly entertaining. One of the most entertaining panels in the entire convention, and they run a good show. I mean, brother and sister combo, they run a fantastic show.
Yeah, they were pretty cool.
You don't.
I don't talk. I'm quiet.
That's the reason.
Wait, was the brother and the sister the one where the doctors actually kicked them off stage?
Yes.
Ah, that
Yeah.
was classic.
Yeah, and I like that they weren't going to give in to the fact that the proctors, the volunteers in the blue shirts, were calling time. And they're like, no.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Like, we got started late. We're going to keep going.
All the really greats do that. Patrick Stewart did that the previous year.
Yeah.
When he was on stage.
Yeah, that was good.
Well, so far, I mean, we're kind of drifting into Comic Palooza. This programming list that I have just seen for the first time, and it's going to take me a good, I don't even know, probably a couple of days to sort through all this stuff, and it's going to change a million times before the convention actually comes up. But
and if you're listening, Comic Palooza, give us an Excel export, please. There's 16 pages of events, and
well, it's going to change. It changes. I mean, the app is great. The app that they showed last year, that they had last year, was great for giving you updates on what was happening, and hopefully they have something like that again. Because this list is already extremely long.
Yeah, but it's lists like this that get you hyped because they have things like cosplay battles. So I'm expecting multiple cosplayers to be fighting, but I know it's just a competition.
yeah, it's a dance-off between cosplayers.
It's like, you've been served.
There's a lot of good panels on this year's list so far. I'm kind of excited I'm probably going to spend more time in panels in the game room than I will anywhere else this year.
I would pay to see an American Gladiator cosplay battle.
If we could just post up outside of GRB with the tennis ball cannons, just blasting the American Gladiators music.
Nice.
And for some reason, Neil is in a giant steel sphere rolling over people.
This sounds fun.
Do I get to push them?
I saw a commercial for these big inflatable things you jump in.
Zorbs.
Is that what they are?
Yeah.
That looked fun, but I don't think I could do that. Like, there's never a park, even with no one watching, that I want to be twirling around the park in a big see-through globe.
Well,
Is
you
this the
see-
one that you're inside, or the one that your hands are that your feet pop out of?
Your feet pop out of this one.
Oh, have you seen them play soccer in that?
Yeah, that's ridiculous. It
Yeah.
looks really fun, but it looks like I would die. Like my ankles would just break off.
You're in a giant bubble wrap. You can't die.
Well, you've seen Sky Zone in the Woodlands, right?
Yeah.
Maybe we can get we're going to try to start organizing some events, some Third Coast Nerds events. Maybe we can make Sky Zone Dodgeball one of those events because that
That'd be
looks incredibly fun, and at least 5 people are going to break legs, but we don't care. We'll probably likely be amongst those that break some limb.
They actually already have dodgeball in that thing.
I was told they have dodgeball.
Interesting. Well, because we're going to have to go for a pre-done thing first because they won't let you in it without going first, like alone.
Okay.
So you have to do some prelim courses. One of my friends is a skydiver. He's been going up there, and even if you have jumps under your belt, if it's your first time at one of those places, at that particular brand of them, you have to jump in. So we may just want to go do that and have some fun, and then do the dodgeball.
It's a place that has wall-to-wall trampolines, and not just trampolines, trampolines at a 45-degree angle. I will show up regardless if there's dodgeball or not.
Sounds good.
So, yeah, so more events. I don't know if we can transition to movies because there's one big movie that we want to talk about, and Mikey has not seen that movie. But we don't want to kick you out of the room yet. We want to be respectful and not have any spoilers. But if you're going to listen to this later, we're going to have spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah, there's going to be spoilers.
We can talk about some Joss Whedon news. So
There's a little bit of that.
he quit Twitter over some of the backlash about the Avengers and Black Widow, and just it's the hateful nature of people on social media anyway. Like when you're behind the shield of anonymity on the internet, you say hateful things just to say hateful things. But in some other news, there was a rumor going around that he is in line to direct Star Wars Episode 9.
I heard about that.
So that could be pretty great. And the comment I posted was, how many lightsabers can Eliza Dushku wield?
Or Summer Glau, maybe.
Anyone, I mean, it's not, I know it's not going to be like a Whedonverse kind of thing. He can't just grab the reins and run with it. But maybe he can get some support from JJ or something like that and keep up the so far with the trailer, I'm not, I've already ranted about Star Wars and my hatred for Lucas, but I'm a huge JJ Abrams fan, even though as confusing as some of his properties get, they're great. JJ, you lost me on Lost.
Yeah.
That was the point. That was the name of the show.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
they had no ending.
There was no ending. There's a polar bear, and there's a thing, there's a code, and the guy sees the plane. He's upset about that. I don't know what happens.
I see it was confidence. They thought the show was never going to end.
Yeah.
So they were just going to keep going.
But it was
Well,
like,
oh, crap, we got to end this?
he draws you in so much. Like Alias did the same thing, where you're like, this is tremendous. This is a huge mystery. All will be revealed in time. Nope.
Well, I think the easy way for us to determine if he's going to try to pull it into his universe is if Nathan Fillion gets a role and it's like Han Solo's kid,
Yeah.
because that's pretty much Nathan Fillion as Captain Reynolds. So
Maybe he should do the Boba Fett that's standalone movie that's set to come out, because then he would have a lot more control.
He probably would.
I think there's a couple of other projects he's lined up to work on that look pretty good. But it's all IMDb. IMDb has this trend of posting things that are like a lot of speculation, but you hear like, oh well, I mean it's kind of his property, but like, oh, Jeremy Renner's working on another Bourne. That's like release date maybe 2017. We don't know. So you have a lot of like spam that pops up on IMDb that makes it really hard to follow, but you get excited about it anyway.
Yeah.
Did you see the picture of the all chrome stormtrooper whatever?
Yes, Brianna.
Yeah. The giant warrior woman from Game of Thrones.
Oh, Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah, Brienne of Tarth. Which just a jump ship on Game of Thrones. You guys got me hooked on that show. You and Miltos. That guy combined. Great. I hope to see that dude again because he is awesome.
He's going to be at Space City Con, I think it is. He's at one of the cons. He's coming back, so we'll get to see him again.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll buy the man whiskey because that seems to be the trend. But yeah, that guy sold me. HBO, whoever, if anybody ever listens to this, that man, bring him back because he sold me on Game of Thrones.
Are you up to date on Game of Thrones?
Yes.
I'm wondering if his character
Mike, are you?
could.
It depends. Have they gone past the 4th episode yet?
No, that's next week.
No, episode 4.
But yeah, the way that his character was, I wouldn't be surprised if they could write him back in.
Well, and that's been a question at pretty much
Every
every time
time.
I've seen him in a panel. They're like, "Are they going to bring you back?" Because everyone loves him. He has a small role, essentially, right?
Yeah.
And they ask him that, and he's like, "It's illegal for me to say anything."
But yeah, I
He's
mean,
like,
there's a very easy way to bring him back, and everyone sees it, and everyone hopes he comes back. But now he's shooting Star Wars.
With how the character, with Ara's character, how she's evolving and going on her journey, you just expect him to pop up at any second.
Yeah, it would be really awesome. Big supporter.
Yeah.
I'd watch the episode like 3 times back to back. Like, I'm not going into work tomorrow. Replay.
Yeah, I'm loving the way the show's developing. It's looking good, and I think it might actually stand to get better since it's deviating from the book.
Yeah,
They don't have to stay.
This is it. Yeah.
Yeah, they can make it an actual entertaining, a more concise standalone TV show without having to follow and be bound by that continuity.
I'm just hoping they have enough content to maintain what Martin started.
I think they do. I'm actually worried that they're going to not tie enough things together. Right now, we have these ice walkers in the north that we really haven't seen
Nothing.
this entire season.
We know
Yeah,
nothing about.
they were on the surge and then just quit.
Yeah.
So it's like, hey,
Well, and we're expecting, the way every interview I saw about the show, it was going to start off very slow. They're saying it's not going to be like other episodes. If you notice their trend, they like to do their big thing
like at the end.
the second to the last and third to the last episodes.
I still want to know who the hell are those dragon people in the woods? It's like, come on, give me something.
But they really haven't made a connection with all of the storylines that they're following. So I would assume in the next, there's only 10 a season, 12. But they've got to get to it soon. They're already 4 in.
Yeah. But I love the push that like winter's coming,
Yeah.
winter's coming, and then that big battle and everything that happened, you're like, oh, winter's here, and then like
But
it
it's
goes to
not.
this season, it's like it got warm again.
Yeah, that was one of the big sell thing for Space City Con the beginning of last year. They had the Momoas there and other people, and yeah, they had a huge "Winter is Coming" banner up.
Yeah, because you notice that it doesn't seem to be snowing as much at Castle Black anymore, and all the other scenes are like tropical and desert, and it's like we're just gonna make you forget about the giant ice creatures that are just.
This winter that was supposed to last longer than all other winters combined.
It's like, damn you, Al Gore, you got to Game of Thrones too. We all understand it's climate change propaganda garnered by HBO.
It better not end that way, since they are going away from the books. They
Right.
with Al Gore just standing there going, "You can help."
Yeah,
He'd have to be an ice walker. He'd have to have blue eyes, pale.
it gets the Targaryen. She's like, I think all the fire breathing dragons have released some CO2 or some other gases in the atmosphere, and it's made it hot.
And then
there's a
the internet
spin-off.
shows up.
There's a spinoff because there's a hole in the ozone, so the dragons can get out and go to other planets.
And this is why we do not make movies or television shows.
And the dragons fly into space, and there's a wormhole, and Iron Man's on the other side. No one knows why. He's like, oh, not this again.
Oh, goodness. Well, speaking of Iron Man, they started production today on the new Captain America and released a number of the cast members that are going to be.
Oh yeah.
Some of note, obviously, Captain America, Iron Man, Black Widow, Winter Soldier, Falcon, Vision, Hawkeye, War Machine, Scarlet Witch, Ant-Man, Black Panther, Crossbones, Thunderbolt Ross, and 2 unknown actors.
And this is
characters.
this is for the Iron Man movie.
This is for the Captain America movie,
Civil War.
Yeah.
Pretty much got everyone that was in Avengers plus more, minus Thor.
Yeah, we're going to get into
sounds like
Avengers.
sooner than later, but we can talk about TV or something.
Isn't this one supposed to be like in the Civil War era?
No,
No, it's
This is the Civil War. Marvel's. Thank you. The Marvel Civil War started when a group of superheroes loose cannon group went after some bad guys, and the small town that this happened in blew up because of it. And so a lot of people were killed. Then there was this push to have all heroes register. They had to register with the government. They had to be employed by the government. They couldn't keep a secret identity anymore. They had to basically work with the government. And there's a fight. Iron Man on one side saying, "Okay, we should do this. We need a someone to control this. Someone to make sure there aren't any cowboys going after bad guys." And then you had Captain America on the other side saying, "No, look, I don't trust the government. We can't have them trying to control us. Then we're just soldiers." And the heroes split on two sides, and there was a civil war.
And that's how you get Mike to talk.
Right. So they use the indexing like you've seen in S.H.I.E.L.D., where they want to index all Inhuman superheroes, all that kind of stuff. And that's really what splits them in half, because half are like, you know what, we should. I can see the need in it.
Yeah.
This sounds awfully familiar to X-Men.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, it's kind of a common theme.
Mutant Registration Act is very similar.
Yeah, it's kind of a common theme through all of Marvel's, bigger ensemble properties, that they eventually take this government sort of bent to it. And it's kind of interesting that you see, now that DC is trying to get serious about their characters, you kind of see the same thing in them with their film properties. The most recent trailer, now that they actually have a full-blown trailer for Batman vs. Superman, it's very much the same take, where you have, everyone, you sort of have, the civilians split between either worshiping Superman as a god, and the other ones are questioning, like, wait a second, who's reining in this dude that has unlimited power? And then cut to Batfleck with the grizzled face, like, I'm not happy about this. And you have this like weird back and forth where, like, Superman walks down the hallway and everyone bows to him, and you can kind of see some of the conflict on Soup's face, like, I'm not sure how I feel about this. Yeah, I'm kind of a god, because, yellow sun and you guys can't fly. So, man, you guys don't have that rock, do you? You got that rock?
Right.
The glowy rock? No? Okay, we're good. But it takes an interesting angle on it that I don't think Warner Brothers or DC has ever bothered to tackle, where if you saw, the first time Superman shows up, he's going to be on evening news. You kind of have to take it out of this whole classic, he was created in the 30s. We had just got cars. Everyone just got cars. No one had TV really. But if you try to put it in modern day and put it in a modern day spin, you can't. It's going to be on YouTube within seconds. It's going to be on Twitter. Dude flew. I have pictures.
Right, traffic cameras everywhere.
Yeah, traffic cameras, and heaven forbid you ever fly in Russia. Everyone's got you.
Yeah, those dash cams are crazy.
Dash cams. Love Russian dash cams so much. But it's going to be, everyone's going to lose their minds, and everyone treats these superhero properties like everyone's going to go to work the next day and everything's going to be fine. Like, just in you take like the Avengers where they're destroying downtown. It's like, oh, well, the civilians went downtown again. They're like, no, we're going to wait until like someone mentions something about the dude with the hammer that just summoned lightning, because I want to know, Mr. Dude that's running for Senate, what you're going to do about the dude with the hammer.
Yeah. Although I will say that on the latest Superman movie, Man of Steel, they tore up a lot more than they did in any Avengers movie.
Oh yeah, by far.
And that was only a 2-person fight. We had aliens in the first Avengers that couldn't do as much damage as Superman.
Yeah.
So you were talking about Stark being on which side of the Civil War?
Definitely, he was pro-government, which is surprising. But I guess with the whole, I'm trying to remember why he was pro-government.
Because guess he wouldn't have to be indexed because he's not a super person, but his tech would.
He would still have to be indexed because he was a hero, even if you were.
Yeah. So that just, I don't know, you know enough of the storyline of the current movie without watching it to know it's all his damn fault. So
I love, and it's not a spoiler, I love in all the Avengers movies, Stark gets more and more powerful. He built weapons for the government, but it seems to be a situation of martial law where no one questions his robot army.
Exactly. That's no one stop. Oh yeah, take whatever you want, do whatever you want. We'll talk to you in a few days.
Yeah. Go ahead and take military action on foreign soil with no questions asked. You don't have to phone a friend. You ain't got to tell nobody about it.
That's probably why he's pro-government, because they don't tell him no. Yeah. They let him do whatever he wants. Put a number on me. Give me the mark of the beast. I don't care.
Yeah, it's like, oh, you're gonna go take care of that. Right on.
Have you seen one of the recent castings for Civil War, Martin Freeman?
Yes.
Did you say Morgan Freeman?
No, Martin Freeman. Bilbo Baggins.
Okay.
Do you know what he's playing? He's unknown on anything
No,
I've read.
but that I was reading Reddit yesterday, and they had a really good theory. They're theorizing that he's going to be the father of a child killed by some sort of superhero action, and he's going to be one of the ones he's going to be like the crying face that leads to the
Civil War itself.
Yeah,
like,
to the superhero
he basically be the icon of what they did wrong. And okay.
Yeah, because I like that you see many civilians die as a result of all of the superhero action, and no mention of it. Tomorrow
they saved that one kid though, right?
Yeah,
so it's all good.
Yeah, they saved the one kid.
And that one girl that looks like she works in a diner. She was happy that Captain America was there one time.
Yeah. But like the 80 people that fell off the side of the earth.
Yeah, like no matter.
No, like they're gone.
They weren't able to tell anyone.
I'm actually really looking forward to Paul Rudd as Ant-Man. I like him a lot. I'm not sold on the concept behind Ant-Man.
Yeah,
but I do like him as that character. I'm
very happy that cinematically we do have. This is the first time I've seen perspectives that brings me back to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Because I saw the trailer recently when we went to go see Avengers, and I was so happy. I was like, yes, someone's taking on a giant ant again, and it's making me feel like Rick Moranis should show up.
I was really hyped about Ant-Man until the director dropped out.
Yeah.
Because I loved
Tell us what you love, Mike.
Sorry, I'm put on the spot. I can't think of it. That's why I'm so silent.
We could turn your headphones off if you want.
What was that romance? No, he dropped out. He's the new director. There was a previous director who worked. Let me look it up. Damn it!
All right, well, he's going to look it up. In other news, Tom Hardy. Oh man! I'm hoping something comes. I'm posted on the Facebook page. Tom Hardy, he dropped out of Suicide Squad.
I heard about that.
There was a conflict in his schedule. He really wanted to be a part of it, but he's hinted now that he would love to be Punisher. And now that Marvel has the rights back to it, I really want to see Tom Hardy take on Punisher, and hopefully, maybe like a Garth Ennis takes production, roles to it and slaps Marvel in the face when they want to fold this into the Avengers continuity. Make this similar to Daredevil, but on the big screen. Give it an R rating. Screw kids; they don't need to see Punisher anyway. Make it for the fans. Make it real, true to his character.
It's probably how Daredevil is probably going to set the stage for that. However, how well that does.
Yeah,
I mean, not Daredevil. I'm thinking Deadpool.
Yeah.
There we go.
And Deadpool, so far, everything I've seen, it's great. I mean, following Liefeld and everything he's saying on Twitter, it looks tremendous.
Yeah.
If he's a fan of it, it's going to be good.
If they have success with Deadpool, then you'll see more R ratings out there.
Yeah, and certain comic properties. I mean, Watchmen was a deeper movie. Kids don't need to see Watchmen because they wouldn't be able to get the comic book anyway. Everything is too weighty from a social studies perspective anyway.
Yeah.
It's not going to be, I mean, I read it when I was like 11, but, some other kids may not get the political overtones and things like that. But,
especially nowadays. I mean, Vietnam was a big part of Watchmen.
Yeah, there's that too. I mean, there's a lot of historical context in there. But, not every comic property needs to be PG-13. Liefeld had a great rant about that. Not everything needs to be packaged for kids and to sell a product. Sometimes you just want to make good art.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's kind of the way I followed the Sin City stuff, is he did it to do what he wanted to do, not to give it to the fans. We all liked it, but you can't take your kid to those.
Yeah. I had my love in with Robert Rodriguez today on Hangouts. One of my favorite directors.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did. Because people doubt the power, man. That guy has guts, and he's going to go after it.
No, he's one of my favorites because he does great movies and gives me awesome recipes. Like the dude introduced me to my favorite tequila.
Nice.
But yeah, for him to jump on, and I mean, no one was going to take a chance on any Frank Miller property at all. And then Rodriguez steps up and does it. he knocks Sin City out of the park.
Yeah.
And this is why 300 was able to happen. This is primarily probably why we're seeing things like this is the Frank Miller Batman that we're going to see in Batman vs. Superman.
Yeah.
Everything I've seen so far leads to me believing it's going to be the full-on Frank Miller Batman. From the look, from some of the dialogue, to the way the whole thing was teased. It looks like that full fold.
That could be really interesting. I mean, I would love to see a Frank Miller standalone movie for Batman. I mean, that gothic, post-apocalyptic.
I don't think anyone's going to touch Batman for a while.
Unfortunately.
But
yeah.
if someone did, I would so be on board with it being.
I was unhappy.
Frank
I was
Miller
unhappy with how clean Batfleck looked in the trailer because I've seen you see in some of his other roles, like The Town and stuff like that. He can be pretty beat up and carry a lot of weight as a character, but they didn't go like the Charlize Theron. What was it?
Aeon Flux?
No.
Mad Max?
Mad Max?
No, not even that. It was a movie she did. I mean, they aged her.
Oh, you're talking about the hitchhiker girl, serial killer girl?
Yeah. I'm looking for the title now, but yeah. I mean, she did that movie, and it was.
Yeah, she did not look the same.
Yeah, I mean, but it's like, we're going to take a chance. Actors are going to be actors. It's just like Monsters Ball. It's just like all these other movies where, actors take themselves out of that sort of beauty limelight and show their chops.
She got ugly for a minute in, what movie was that? The one with the girl from the vampire movies with Sparkle. Snow White, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. She got ugly for
There's been so many movies with vampires that sparkle.
Yeah, I know, it's sad. I'm glad we're into zombies instead of vampires now.
Oh, speaking of zombies, did you see the Arnold Schwarzenegger zombie movie?
That looks interesting.
No.
Maggie.
Yeah.
It looks unbelievably good.
You have to be shitting me.
No.
This is going to exist.
Well, thank you, Kyle, because now I have to put explicit content whenever I post this to iTunes now.
You say it on the radio.
But still.
Apple owns iTunes.
Yeah, Apple owns iTunes. We'll get kicked off if we keep that in there. But this movie looks like a very different take, a completely different feel on the zombie movie. And for Arnold, Arnold's bringing the acting chops hard in this whole thing. It looks tremendously good.
It's hard not to laugh when you say acting chops and Arnold in the same sentence. I understand the confusion.
I understand completely.
It does look like it could be good.
Hey, man, actors evolve. Sometimes they come. Granted, we have a good 40 years of history of Arnold.
Well, he may have learned something from some of his coworkers in the Expendables.
Yeah. But look at the trailer. All the chuckles are coming from a man who hasn't seen the trailer and who hasn't seen, it's not going to be him, listen to me, you need to come with me now, the zombies. And then Arnold becomes a zombie and he's like,
I haven't been able to take him seriously since I saw when he was real young, he made one of his weightlifting videos where he was like, I'm coming on stage all the time. It's like I lift the weights and I'm coming.
There's explicit content again. Thank you, Kyle. But yeah, I mean, Dana Carvey has a great joke about how tight Arnold has his entire life, and he's like, you get to the hotel, you run the stairs, you walk out for a little bit, you take a shower, put on that light white T-shirt, and you're ready for the evening. He had his entire life wrapped up in a nice bundle where he knew the 6 hours down to the T-shirt he was going to wear.
That takes dedication.
It takes dedication. But look at the trailer, watch the trailer, form your own opinion about it. I've loved the man since Last Action Hero. Love the movie. For some unknown reason, I just love that movie.
Total Recall and 3 tits for me.
Total Recall. Thank you. More explicit content.
Kindergarten Cop. That was a great movie with
As
him.
dirty as I've gotten on stage, I have been the only clean one in this entire podcast.
I know, right?
And it's much more difficult for me.
Mike has been clean.
Mike has been... What? But yeah, look at the trailer. It looks like a tremendous movie. We went down this path. I think we were talking about Charlize, and she got her bit role in The Road was great.
Watch The Road. I read the book. I read the book. I read the book when my son was the age of the kid in the book.
Yeah, I was about to say, like, if you haven't read the book and you've got a son, the movie's going to kill you, dude.
I read the book, and the book pretty much killed me, and was like,
Yeah.
I'm not watching that movie.
It's a heavy read, and it's a heavy watch. I think they did the film was great. Why are you throwing your hands up in there?
Because I'm watching the trailer and he was holding an axe and then it disappeared. The trailer just went off my screen.
Well done.
What's a trailer? It's a trailer. You can't hear the audio anyway. You have that's half the emotional content. I know. I don't care. I don't care if I get flack about calling, saying Arnold's bringing his acting chops. He is. He is. It looks great.
Did you see that Supergirl is landing on CBS now? They're going to do a Supergirl series.
Well, I guess I saw that CBS finally went ahead and ordered a full season of it.
Yeah. And Supergirl's kind of cute.
She's cute, but it's not by any of the people who are doing Flash or the Arrow, so I'm still a little...
Yeah, you're kind of wondering...
It's CBS, so it's going to be CSI with superheroes.
Yeah.
And you heard about the spinoff from Flash and Arrow being given a title now.
What's the title?
The title is Legends of Tomorrow.
Interesting. So there's going to be more than just Adam?
Apparently so, yeah. There's going to be... they're trying to put together a little group, I guess.
I did hear a rumor that then John... what's his name? From Arrow...
Yes.
Is going to be possibly going to be the new Green Lantern,
Interesting.
or was up for it.
That's very interesting.
The only thing I've heard about the Arrow recently is that Superman's about to be on the show, and they might pull Tom Welling, which did it in Smallville, which will be very interesting if they kind of merge all that in, because that is a huge following. They might try to bring that back.
I don't think it's that bad. I mean, I think we talked about this last time with the idea that the film continuity is going to be different from the TV series.
Yeah.
And I think the group that you have on Arrow is good enough, especially, I'm bad with names again, old boy that's playing the actual Arrow, and even Flash too. I think those guys could carry over to film because they're not the gods that provide the pillars for the whole movie to begin with.
Yeah.
I mean, if Jeremy Renner's an established actor, he's an established film actor, but his role in the Avengers is kind of on par with what the Arrow would be anyway. Yeah. But I think the way they've made Arrow more and more serious as things have continued, and it started out pretty deep anyway. His work on there has been great. Give him a role, give him a shot at the movie instead of giving a whole different actor and confusing people. And now, I
agree. I mean, that's something that we discussed on the last podcast that I mentioned. I really like the way S.H.I.E.L.D. and Marvel are tying into the movies with Captain America and now Age of Ultron.
Well,
and
I got beef.
You got lots of beef.
I got lots of beef.
But I think the people, like you said, that are on the Arrow and on the Flash could actually carry over to the big screen.
Oh yeah.
Well, and that's what I said when the last Superman movie that came out, when that was announced.
Man of Steel.
Yes, that was one. After the one before it, whichever that was titled, to me it was horrible. When Man of Steel was announced, I was like, Tom Welling, like he did really well. Move someone that's played that character, that's established, and throw him on film. But,
yeah.
So I completely agree. I think that would be the best thing.
Looks like they're going balls to the wall with it though. They've got like half of the Flash cast member on here, a number of the Arrow cast member, a name you may recognize, Arthur Darvill from Doctor Who. He'll be in it. Yeah, I don't know who that is, but I figured you would.
You seen the Fifth Doctor? The fifth season's Doctor?
I go to the doctor once every 3 years.
Okay. He'll be good.
Good. Okay. So it's got the Prison Break guys from the current Flash will be in there, so I think they're going to probably carry over for some of the bad guys. But yeah, the producers and stuff are the same. EPs are the same.
Hopefully Warner tries to keep a cap on it though, because I mean that's my rant about how convoluted Marvel continuity has become with their film and TV franchises. I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times. It's not going to be a spoiler, so Mike, whatever. But, but how damn complicated that universe has become, and they're going to want to shoehorn Spider-Man in there and all these new Avengers people, and it's too much. It's too much.
Well, I'm thinking the Civil War that you're talking about may help clean things up by creating a dividing line between them.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they kind of get the way X-Men went out with Age of Apocalypse is coming up. What was the last one?
Days of Future Past.
Yeah, Days of Future Past. The way that sort of made a bookend to everything that's been before, and sort of set up everything that's coming, that's soon to be. I don't like time travel crap, but the way that they handled that was very nicely done because that was a big storyline in X-Men anyway.
Well, I think they're ramping up for Civil War, but they're also looking at, I think, West Coast Avengers as well. They see, that they're getting really good money, basically. They've had decent stories, good actors. They're building up to start doing the little spin-off stuff in the comic books as well. So
the problem with it is now that you have all these characters in the movie, there's not going to be a standalone movie that you can do with any of them unless you're doing an Origins thing. And we've seen how bad the Origins have turned out for the X-Men movies.
Yeah, because it was like the last Iron Man. It's like, really? Like, none of these other 8 people will answer the phone right now?
You can do some small if you don't try to do too much, because Spider-Man, he had his bad guys, he had his huge villains, but he was mostly the Batman. He was getting the purse thief, and so you could do some small things where they wouldn't want to necessarily call in the Avengers or call in some backup.
But I do agree. Iron Man 3, you should have called someone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
the producers and directors should have called someone.
Especially, I mean, again, not a spoiler, but especially in Avengers, it's established it like, oh, everyone's sort of chilling out at Tony Stark's house anyway.
Well, you need to watch S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And it kind of leads up to the beginning of...
The reason why Captain America is staying in
basically
Stark's guest room?
If you take... And I'm trying to be nice here for people who haven't watched S.H.I.E.L.D. or Avengers. But
I haven't watched any of S.H.I.E.L.D., so...
A lot of people complain and have the same complaints that you have about it just kind of all getting thrown together, and you just kind of show up almost mid-movie, almost, is the way it feels. If you would have watched S.H.I.E.L.D., it doesn't do a whole lot to set it up, but it explains how it starts. And the episode after... It kind of does the same thing. Just a little bit of the information from the movie carries down into the show. It was nowhere near as it was in season 1 with Captain America movie. What I'm expecting, I guess it'll be off. When does Captain America come out next year?
I guess because they just announced Martin Freeman. So
yeah, I mean they're just shooting today. They started production, so I would imagine if they line that one up again, it seems like the S.H.I.E.L.D. one ties in a little more to that than the overall Avengers.
Well, and I mean, Captain America is always one that's been like, he supports S.H.I.E.L.D., whereas the other Avengers were like, no. They're manipulating us, whatever. He has that loyalty, so I think it'd be smart for them to keep Captain America and S.H.I.E.L.D. and not include any of the others.
But, that goes to say you had your complaints, which we'll address shortly. But, you have two ways to look at it. Like, I watched both the TV show and the movie. It ran together, and I don't have the same feelings you have. Whereas you don't watch S.H.I.E.L.D. and you watch the movie as a standalone movie, and is that going to hurt Marvel long run for fans that don't want to keep up with a 22 episode a year?
I believe it already has. I mean, the show continuity, and there's already been a lot of talk about it that people don't want to have to follow a TV show to stay glued into your universe, and for all the other properties to make sense. It's the same reason why. You don't have a movie with cutscenes that just goes, should have read the comic, and then goes to something else like, oh, look at this other property where we have this other storyline continuing. There was a lot. I think there was one of the Batman movies. They had like a McDonald's tie-in that had some other story plot points. Mm-hmm. Don't do that. Don't do that. Stop trying. You're already making an ungodly amount of money off the film property. Stop being greedy and trying to sell other crap in the meantime. Just make good. And I mean, it's going to be it's going to sound stupid, especially after my Arnold acting chops comment. But stop trying to be greedy and make art. Make the story good on its own right instead of just trying to sell. All I've felt that's happened since the last Avengers movie is each movie is just selling the next 4.
I can see that.
And that's going to catch up with them to the point where everyone's just burned out on it. Like, I want a good story here.
Well, we've already seen Robert Downey Jr. say he's not doing any more solo Iron Man. He's only coming back for other movies like Captain America. He may show up in,
and that's the way it should
Thor
be
if necessary.
And that's the way it should be, because just like I said with Iron Man 3, who's going to believe that like, oh, dude can't pick up a phone and call one of the 20 characters that's in this universe and get a little help?
He had that dude with wings helping out. Or no, he didn't have wings. He just had the other guy in another suit. Yeah.
There's War Machine. There's all these other storylines where they're just put into big characters and they've got their own story arcs that no one's touching on. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
War Machine. I've been waiting for a War Machine movie for a while.
Yeah, especially when you have an actor. I mean, it's getting to the point now where it's costing them so much money to keep everyone tied into this universe, and they just keep making it bigger. And
Yeah, I see that.
it's going to fail. I mean, it failed with...
I doubt it's going to fail because we're sitting around the table talking about it, and it's making millions and millions of dollars.
And they've already divided it a little bit. I mean, you've got the whole Guardians of the Galaxy thing, which is going to be its own separate. I know they're going to tie in eventually with the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah,
But
and there's rumors of a certain Avengers cast member showing up on the next Guardians movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, Mr. Hulk.
Oh, they're finally, because they were supposed to do that with Age of
There's
Ultron.
some speculation,
but
yeah.
they didn't.
Well, that's what there's. Well, yeah. So.
Well, I know. I've been reading some spoilers. It's hard to stay away, and I heard that they didn't launch Hulk into the atmosphere or into the stratosphere.
No, they did not. But
So
he went off on his own.
he always goes off on his own.
And yeah, so they
Yeah,
really
and it's
leave that
sad, too.
character.
They should play the music.
in my head, that there's a scene, Mikey, you're going to love it. There's a scene that they stay on a shot for so long, and in my head, I'm humming the music.
Maybe I should bring it to the theater when I see it.
Nice.
You should. Do it at Alamo. They'll love it.
Oh yeah.
But it was dead on, and I'm like, really? We're going to stay on the shot for this long? Sad Hulk flies away?
See, for me though, I'm kind of the opposite of your argument. I prefer. Well, I'm not saying prefer. I enjoy TV shows. You can go to the movies once a year and get 2 to 2.5 hours of entertainment, whereas I've gotten 20 hours already because I've watched 20 episodes.
It's not a matter of I don't enjoy the TV show. It's just a matter of time, because I got in on it so late, and there were other things I was catching up on. Because all this talk started around Comic Palooza last year, and I was turned off on really the whole scene. So when I'm trying to juggle, like I've got 4 seasons of Game of Thrones to catch up on. I've got Arrow was starting. I was already a season behind on that. There was a lot of
You could just do less and enjoy it rather than hating on everything you're doing.
Well, there's.
I understand that completely because
comment.
I'm only 8 episodes into Arrow season 1, and I just can't find time because I watch more TV than probably most of you combined.
Well, and I just caught up on Arrow using a stream. I finally got all the episodes, and I was like, nope, here we go. And I sat there, and I think it took me 3 days of pretty much just watching the Arrow. And then I started on Flash because I only watched the 2, and I had to catch up completely on that. So
I mean, it's hard to get in and to stay up with everything.
Yeah,
but when
the-
you're used
the
to
thing
sci-fi
is-
from the 90s and 2000s, where you had Friday Night, Stargate, Battlestar Galactica, and Atlantis,
Like, I almost
you
got a speeding
had
ticket because
3
of that.
shows that lasted 5 to 15 years that you watched and rewatched. So for me, it's like I'm finally getting content again to fill the void that Stargate left.
to fill the hole in your soul.
But it takes a lot more because back then you only had 1 or 2 to choose from that were 1 or 2 to choose from in general,
Yeah.
especially each night a week. Now you have 3 or 4. Because I mean, I can remember back then. I'm going 100 miles an hour down 45 heading to your house so I can watch it. Whereas now I'm just
Wait. Statute of limitations.
That was like 10 years ago.
Good.
All right.
Move on.
So, now I'm just like, I'll watch it later. That's the
Well,
new
the
mindset.
DVRs have done that to
Exactly.
us, too.
Well, that and you have Netflix and streaming, and you can download the episodes on Amazon.
Which should make it easier for someone like you to catch up on things.
Well, that's been the big issue is that, like,
Channel
it's
your
always
YouTube.
there.
Channel your YouTube time into
Multimedia
catching
overflow.
up.
Yeah, like, that's the thing. Is like, now in my head, it's always there.
Yeah.
So there's not as much of a rush. And there's also, I want to stretch out content. I haven't started Daredevil yet.
Me neither.
I haven't finished this season of House
Is
of
it
Cards.
that good? I've only peeked at it.
The longer it's out and the more reviews I read, the lower the rating gets.
Well, that's the funny thing is that I haven't
I don't think it's
read
made for the masses. to
I
be
haven't
honest.
read any news about Daredevil at all, outside of the fact that it's here. Oh, it's pretty good.
No, it's amazing. I had meetings all week, and I stayed up late 2 nights in a row so I could finish the entire season. I'm like, I have a meeting in 4 hours. This was 10 years ago as well. But I was like, I have a meeting. I gotta go to bed. All right, one more episode. One more, I'm like, okay, I can finish this tomorrow if I go to bed now.
Wait,
right?
you got to do the Stephen A. Smith. Allegedly.
And see, that's my problem right now. Is it's NBA playoffs.
It's NBA playoffs.
So 4 nights a week, I'm watching 4 to 6 hours of basketball.
I'm on the plus side of that. I'm watching the playoffs as well because this is the first season that there's no one in the NHL playoffs that I care about.
That's right. You were talking about
There's
that.
nobody there that I could care less what happens with Stanley Cup this year, and it makes me sad.
Well, that and as far as the third coast goes, Houston's the only one left in. So
Yeah.
sucks to be you, San Antonio and Dallas, right? So now back to non-sports.
But the way this universe is sort of extended to where all you have is like this movie felt so rushed to introduce all these new characters that like, oh, these are going to matter at some point in the near future, maybe. It gets annoying to try to sit through a movie where they don't give you any reason to care about anyone on screen. Where it's just like, oh, here's Hulk angry, but now Hulk okay because other person here helping Hulk out. Well, now Hulk angry again. We're going to make him mad. Oh, yeah, here's this chick that dances like Stevie Nicks, and bad things happen to the people around her when she does this. And you don't really establish like why anyone should care about it. And also for the fact that we're folding in mutants now to this continuity, and there hasn't been any talk of mutants up to this point. Like, all of the stuff, all of the deep content development that happened with the X-Men, the government stuff with Trask, the mutant registration, all this other stuff. And now we have 2 mutants thrown into, well, they're not mutants. They're enhanced.
Inhumans.
Yeah.
Inhumans. If you would have watched S.H.I.E.L.D., you'd know.
Well, they didn't refer to them as that in the movie. They're enhanced. They're enhanced.
Oh,
Like,
that's
what
because
is
they
that?
haven't been registered yet or indexed or whatever it's called. Registered.
Yeah.
Well, I know S.H.I.E.L.D. calls it indexed. So that's where I'm getting that terminology from.
But it's such a silly notion that you have that depth, that wealth of content, that wealth of story that is just going to go misplaced. And, I mean, there's so much more you can do with that. I mean, these are Magneto's kids. There's so much
They can't
deeper.
say they're Magneto's kids, though.
I understand that. But just like they made the deal with Fox for some of the Spider-Man universe, they should be able to pull a little bit back, or at least at some point Fox should go, there's a lot of money to be made.
Yeah.
If we can make if we can make it to where the Avengers promotes X-Men, then we can handle this in a way that makes us all very rich.
We all know how good Fox is at keeping shows alive. So I don't think they're...
Kyle's concerned because it sounds like there's a drag race wars from Fast and Furious 7 is happening outside the house.
Oh, I haven't seen that movie yet.
It's good.
I heard some ridiculousness in it.
I need to go see that.
The last 45 minutes where you're just like, stop twisting the knife. We get it. Homeboy dead. Like, I'm sad too. Stop making me want to cry every 5 minutes in this movie.
Did you cry, Chad?
Be
honest.
Dude, there's some moments, and it was in the music video. I'm gonna say the part where you had the white Supra and Paul Walker's in the white Supra and oh boy Vin Diesel's in the black the hot rod wheelie car, and they part ways. I'm like, damn.
And now you have to go and edit yourself.
So Mike's the only one that's not
Right?
dirty.
Well, it's not over till we get Mike on mic saying a word.
Yeah, but with the way the future is sort of unfolding for the Marvel Universe, I hope for the best because I've been a Marvel guy since the beginning. But I don't. You've got so many actors that their value just keeps going up.
That and it's going to be difficult to pay Thor or whatever his real name is, Chris, I believe.
Chris Hemsworth.
To pay to see his abs on screen for only 30 seconds at a time. Like, it's getting to the point to where, okay, we have 2 hours, and we have 85 characters to talk about.
Yeah.
So we got 3 minutes of Tony Stark. We got 3, and I can see, but I don't think it's going to get that bad. I mean...
Supposedly they're going to be cutting some people from the Avengers.
And they're going to be doing more splits on different movies, and, they're already talking about splitting S.H.I.E.L.D. into 2 shows.
They might just keep Thor and cut out his abs. So I mean, that's like a seventh of the cost because they had to pay for each of the 6.
Well, they could
right?
they could cut him. They could go to Natalie Portman because for a time Thor was a woman in the comic book. I think that was actually fairly recently.
That's about to happen.
Yeah, and plus like
Isn't that Secret Wars? Isn't that about to start?
Are they doing Secret Wars?
Yeah, I
haven't
think
heard that.
comic book Secret Wars is going to have a female Thor. I could
Oh,
be completely
are they doing a Secret Wars 3 in the comics?
I read something about that too. Yeah, Secret Wars is supposed to start off again sometime soon.
Wow.
I'll bring a paper. I got one for Free Comic Book Day.
Secret.
But they have an actual like mock newspaper that you can open up, and it shows all kind of like they did for the movies for Marvel, how you could see everything up to like 2020 or 2018. They have something very similar with the way they're going to do Secret Wars with the Marvel comics. So
it may actually unfold in the movies. All we've got left for this year is Ant-Man in July, and then next year in May, the next Captain America, November 2016, Doctor Strange. Guardians 2 comes May 2017.
So Doctor Strange, has that been confirmed that that's going to be Benjamin Cumberbatch?
Yes.
Okay, so there's also some comments I was reading. It would be interesting if they were able to get Martin Freeman segue him from the...
They're going to shoehorn somebody in there to let you know, like, hey, there's still this other movie coming up that you have to worry about.
But Martin Freeman, have you seen the new Sherlock's?
Sherlock's not really my thing.
You should see the new Sherlock's.
yeah, it's about this pretentious guy. You might like him.
And with being that you have to wait like 2 years in between seasons, you'll always be caught up.
And there's only, 3 episodes? 6 episodes?
They're like an hour and a half episodes, so it's like mini movies.
Yeah.
It's
It
really
actually, I'm very glad I watched it. It was very enjoyable.
Yes, I highly, highly recommend it.
Well, Mikey sells me on a lot of things. So.
Well, I mean, maybe you should get him in front of a mic and have him sell you on it.
Well, we we'll do that soon. There's a new podcast series that we've been talking about for a while now, where just like Neil and Kyle sold me on going to a comic convention for the first time in 15 years.
And look where we are now.
And surprisingly enough, like I'm the only one that's actually that deep into comic books.
Yeah, I think Mike actually.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike
and
too.
Garcia knows some
I've
stuff.
got the history. I stopped it in the late 90s, early 90s, actually.
Yeah, I tuned out for a long time too with like current continuity, but I kept up with all the trades. Anytime there was a good storyline coming out, I kept up with the trades, or at least like if I heard the film was going to be based on a series of storylines, I went and picked up all the trades for that. So X-Men's been my thing since I was a kid.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The first comic book I ever read was X-Men 25, where Magneto rips the adamantium out of Wolverine.
Nice.
And I'm like, holy crap, man! Like, this is how real it gets. Like, this was tremendous. But with all the continuity in comics, it's so hard to keep up with because now the universes are so much bigger. They try to keep up with the movie storylines. They got to sell the movies too.
Well, I think both DC and Marvel are kind of rebooting comics with the Secret Wars. And then DC is doing Convergence, and that's like an 8-episode comic series, and then each of the different characters in there are splitting off into their own new Convergence series. So it's like both are taking full advantage of how big it is, and they're going to make it worse for you.
Well, and
better for everyone else, but worse for you.
And the New 52 only started last year, right?
2 years ago, I think.
I think the New 52 has been around for a while.
Was it? I know it was hitting really big last year. I know that they started the year before that, but
I
they're
think
doing
it's
it. They're doing it for more than just Batman now. They're doing,
So I mean, there's a lot of changes coming in, and for me, I'm new. You have something to base this all off of from the 90s to the early thousands. I played sports. I watched basketball all the time, and I watched Stargate and Battlestar. I didn't get into comic books. The place I went to buy my basketball cards, half of the place had comic books. Never turned around.
Oh, well, the auto parts store down the street from the house was the comic book store as well.
Nice.
So whenever we went there to
no
get
wonder you
parts,
know cars and comics.
yeah. Whenever it came time to go like work on Grandpa's truck or something like that, that was the closest auto parts store, and the other half of the store was comic books. That's how I got into Magic. That's how I got into comic books to begin with. I was like, hey, this is like that dude on that cartoon I watch. Let me get this book.
That's where that cartoon came from.
And then on the ride home, I'm like, holy crap, that dude got died a lot. I got to pick up the next book. I kind of miss buying comic books that had like a film of brake dust over them, because where the guy the machine that he turned brake rotors on was all of 10 feet away from the racks of comic books. They were polybagged, but still, you get some silt carryover.
Yeah.
And the doors were open all the time. This is a Houston-centric podcast. If you know where Aldine Westfield in Little York is, that's home. that was home to me for about 20 years.
Oh, nice. I still need to go through the Comic Palooza guest list and buy my stuff to get signed.
We talked about it last time on the podcast. Great comic book guests, and I'm hoping they add more. I'm hoping they add. I want to see Houston grow enough, and this is kind of one of the reasons too that we started doing this podcast. We want this to become significant enough. We want Houston to become significant enough to where we draw bigger talent. Not saying that we're, I'm already going to shoot myself in the foot by saying bigger talent.
Yep.
But some of the longer established guys that really affect how things are happening now. Image Comics had their sphere of influence and the way they impacted everything in media in the 90s really set the stage for comic book film and the way the properties are handled now, how popular it is. The creators of Image Comics made the cover of Rolling Stone. I mean, they were covered on MTV. Think MTV, comic book guys, nerdy guys on MTV, and they're hip and they're popular, and people want to know about them because they bucked the system. They're like, screw you guys, we're going to go do our own show.
Where is MTV now?
Well, things change.
Yeah, they went away from music into all this other crap, and then they died.
Yeah, MTV's dead. Yeah, they I would love to see MTV try to get like any sort of booth traffic at SDCC.
I think it's going to be funny that you make your comment that you're already having to backpedal off of because
Didn't they do the Teen Wolf thing though?
I think they did. Yeah,
They had some success with that. I didn't watch
well, I mean, the vampires and they sparkle, and there's also the do with hair, so it's kind of the same thing.
but this is the second year in a row we've gotten Stan Lee, and we've heard the talk. You're a Jack fan, we know.
I love Stan Lee, but I don't like the fact that Jack Kirby doesn't. He's an unknown.
He is. I mean, his name's on every EP for every movie still.
Yeah.
But I mean,
you're going to see me walking around Comic Palooza with a King shirt on with Jack Kirby's face on it.
I think it's gotten a lot better in the last few years in Houston. We've gotten how many Spawn cons coming off the sides. We've got Amazing Houston Con and all that. But yeah, it would be Comic Palooza's been the standout. It's gotten the bigger guests. It's a 4-day thing now.
Yeah, but we don't get the heavyweights that San Diego, Chicago, and New York bring in. True. So we're the bottom part of the diamond as far as that tour is concerned, and we don't draw in.
Even Dallas gets so much more.
Yeah,
we're slowly starting to compete with Dallas, but I think we're getting quality guests. We just want to get more of them. So at our cons, we're getting 1 or 2 or 3, whereas the other cons are getting 10, 15,
entire cast.
Yeah, they're getting entire cast, and I was hoping that we could draw in something like the cast of Arrow or the cast of Flash.
Well, they have the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. last year. They have the cast of Gotham this year.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're unfortunately not the big name ones, but it's getting a lot better for us here in Houston.
And I'm hoping for some more heavyweights, some established. We had James O'Barr and Mike Mignola here last year, 2 big names in the comic industry. Some of the guys that made it. We got Jeff Smith this year, one of the guys that made independent comics possible, that set the stage and allowed, really sort of, set it up to where Image could be successful. He didn't have any involvement in it, but there was that 2 comic book, those 2 one-shots that came out called The Battle for Independence, that was pretty much co-penned, co-written, and every big artist that ended up splitting off into their own independent book was part of that project. And that's where you had the first appearance of tons of characters that were very influential on comics in the 90s. So getting someone like Jeff Smith here, I would like to see, we were able to get Jim Lee here last year, and Jim Lee will one day be the editor-in-chief. He's kind of already the de facto editor-in-chief publisher of DC Comics. He's kind of calling the shots with the way things develop there.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to end up taking the reins full fold. But it's kind of difficult to say that given Warner Brothers' influence with that. But he is the reason why the DC properties are working like they are in film. He really establishes the character's persona, their image. The New 52 was his brainchild. That was his project. So to get more of those guys here, I'm hoping that McFarlane never comes out of his cave. Silvestri makes appearances here and there. Eric Larson, who knows? We almost had Will Spartasio here last year. Unfortunately, had to cancel. So these Image guys that if you haven't seen the Image Revolution, the documentary, great watch. If you want to catch up on the reason why things are the way they are now, great documentary to see.
I have to find that.
I thought I brought a copy of it to you guys.
I'll have to look for that.
Yeah.
Definitely want to see it. I want to see why the DC went away from the cartoons that they were doing. They were doing the cartoons so well.
Because cartoons died. Aside from cable, that no one really you got like SpongeBob, you got Adult Swim and stuff like that, but I don't think it really has enough of a foothold to really capture. I mean, like Saturday morning cartoons with the 5 seasons of like the X-Men animated series that ran. You had Iron Man, you had Fantastic Four.
They suck.
I went.
Pixar makes tons
You
of money.
hold your tongue, sir.
I want Batman Beyond back.
I want Batman Beyond back. The Iron Man where he was a teenager sucked. I'm sorry.
I'm talking about the anime. I'm talking about like the one that ran in like the early 90s. Because they were back to back and they were introduced by Stan Lee. You had Iron Man and Fantastic Four.
I don't remember those. Oh wow, I'll have to go and research that. But no, the newer ones.
Because that's how I started off every Saturday morning. Or actually, I think it was Sunday morning on CBS. Because Stanley would come on, Excelsior, True Believers,
Yeah, well,
and he would introduce the episodes.
I remember the ones where I remember the Spidey and Friends, which was actually kind of good. I like
The
those.
Spidey, yeah. The Spider-Man, all this happened in like the early 90s. Yeah, they had a lot of other series that came afterwards, but the ones that took off in the early 90s on the back of the success of the X-Men animated series, because those followed the comic books very closely. And recently, like I think they were only like really about a year or two behind on a lot of the storylines that the books were following. They tackled Days of the Future Past in the animated series. The Night of the Sentinels was like the first episode, which was it was pretty much how, again, Jim Lee making things happen. When they relaunched X-Men under Jim Lee's control, they established that continuity with the relaunch of X-Men #1, and a year later, that's what the animated series was based on.
This isn't the the Wolverine and the X-Men that you're talking about. Is
No. It's the actual X-Men, the animated series.
I'll have to check it out because the Wolverine and the X-Men actually turned into a pretty good series after the first couple.
Yeah, I mean, the X-Men animated series really followed comic book continuity very well. I mean, as much and got pretty graphic and deep for a Saturday morning kids cartoon. They handled very weighty subjects, the government registration stuff. I mean, for a cartoon, they even had comic books that tied into it that were based on each episode. So having it was really based on the back of, Jim Lee was only on board with X-Men at the relaunch for I think he made it 12 issues in before Image started. So based on the popularity of those Image guys, again, they made CNN, they made big time news. The New York Times, based on that hit, that mortar shell that landed in the middle of the comic books industry that made it popular and made people start paying attention to it, that's where all those TV shows were launched off of, all the animated series were launched off of. And in no time, I want to say all this happened in the span from maybe 92 to 95. You had X-Men, Iron Man, Fantastic Four, Batman took off, Spider-Man, the animated series, took off. And they were all tied in very closely with the stories that were happening in the comic books. And then after cartoons sort of died around, I think like 98 is when they started trailing off, 99 maybe. That's when the respective animated series got really that Japanese influence. There was an artist named Joe Madureira that really changed. He had about as much impact on X-Men as Jim Lee did. Joe Madureira hit X-Men, I want to say around 96 or 97, and brought a very Japanese manga-influenced look to the X-Men. Very high dynamic art. Lots of very action. It sort of relaunched more dynamic art in comic books, along with like J. Scott Campbell, Humberto Ramos. A lot of those second wave Image guys that hit with like the Cliffhanger series or the Cliffhanger imprint with Jim Lee's Wildstorm. Right before he sold it to DC and just sort of checked out on Image altogether. But that dynamic art style influenced heavily the way it was perceived in pop culture, and you saw the cartoons follow suit. A lot of that sort of stylized influence hit other properties as well. Just kind of like the way you see now, the way it's sort of reverse influencing from TV back to comic books. Within, I want to say, 5 or 6 episodes, the comic book Arrow, the character in the comic book looked just like the actor on the TV show. Like within like an issue, it was a drastic change. The same thing with Superman, the same thing with Batman. They're all being heavily influenced by the way the TV shows and the movies are playing out now. So I don't know if the comic books can regain some of that traction to impart that influence back on the industry. Because we heard last year at Comic Palooza and some of the other conventions how kind of bad it is in the environment right now to be an artist, to be a creator, because it's like, well, how are we going to sell a movie on this? Like, it's hard to sell a new book because everyone wants to know, like, well, how do we branch this character out? How do we make movies off of this? Can we get him on TV? Can we get him on a T-shirt somewhere? Can we get him in Hot Topic? Can we make something happen with this character that has nothing to do with the book or the story whatsoever?
Well, that was one of the big complaints with the Super Trooper guys. Was they couldn't get anyone to double their money up on a $2 to $3 million budget.
Yeah.
I'll get a loan for $2 million and make $4 million off of it any day of the week. But these big studios are like, there's not nearly enough zeros there. So it's got to be balls to the wall or they don't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
And I'm hoping that the San Francisco influence on Austin doesn't take hold, because we were getting a great scene established there with Rodriguez, with Tarantino, with Opie. I can't remember his name.
Ron Howard?
Yeah, Ron Howard. Ron. Yeah, that's all you got to say. Everyone knows Ron Howard based on Opie. Even though the guy's a tremendous director, but he moved his entire production setup to Austin. So that was starting to blow up. Austin was starting to become the place to go. And I'll nerd out on a lot of things. Music is one of them, especially Nashville. Nashville is a cesspool of writers from Florida and Georgia right now. There are so many songwriters and producers that are out of work, and they're pulling up camp and coming to Austin because this is where legit country music is coming back to. The Nashville sound is Def Leppard and Nickelback with a fiddle. And the real guys like Sturgill Simpson want no part of it. So they're all coming to Austin, but there's this sort of battle over control of Austin between all of the guys that have come from California, and you can see that influence very clearly in Austin. San Francisco, it looks like it's starting to look like San Francisco with the architecture, with the cultural influences. But I'm hoping that film part of it takes hold, because that may be the only place where real film can happen now. Hollywood, they want to know, well, we're going to put $230 million behind this movie deal, but we want to be able to make like $900 million international within 2 years.
Yeah.
That's the only way they're going to do movies now. Liefeld was very adamant about that. I mean, that guy's locked in. But now you can see with the way movies are made, it's go big or go home, and no one wants to take a risk.
Yeah.
So I don't think you could get something like, I'm interested to see what happens with the Crow reboot. James O'Barr spoke about that last year, that there's a reboot coming, and he's very involved in it, but we can only hope that it's something good.
I think we just need to make a production company that's willing just to double up on your money.
Yeah.
They've gotten the crowdsourcing, too. I mean, that's how Super Troopers 2 is going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is that properties like, a lot of the properties that these guys created are owned by someone else now.
Yeah.
Deadpool was Liefeld's thing. That is his biggest thing. That started off as a bet with Todd McFarlane. I don't know if you heard that story. It's an interesting story. McFarlane would call Liefeld and be like, "Oh, you got to draw eyes and all that stuff," because at the time McFarlane was drawing Spider-Man. And he's like, "I just draw a circle with 2 other circles inside of it, and I'm done." He's like, "You got to draw for weeks." And so Liefeld was like, "I'll show you," and came up with Deadpool, which is like Spider-Man with pouches and guns.
Yeah. Huh.
But in the process, he made a great character. calling up, I think, Bob Harris, who was the editor-in-chief of Marvel at the time, and he's like, so Wolverine's Weapon X. Who's Weapon 9? Like, Weapon X, Weapon 10. Who's Weapon 9? And he was like, screw it, Deadpool's Weapon 9. You know, he was the one that they just screwed up enough before they got to Wolverine and got it right. So they, unfortunately, some of their most creative works they don't own anymore. Jim Lee, you know, if he ever got, I don't think maybe he's not interested in doing his own properties anymore, and he's more tied into being able to throw a lot of weight around with a bunch of legends. But I thought his properties were great. All the Wildstorm stuff was great. What Alan Moore did with Wildcats before that series ended was tremendous. Great storylines. If you haven't, like, go back in time. Whoever, if you're listening to this and you don't know anything about this history, which I'm staring across the table at Neil and he's checked out a long time ago.
A little bit.
Go check out, all these are available at trade paperbacks. Cruise the aisles at Comic Palooza and go look for a lot of this stuff because you're missing out on some great stories. A lot of history. We don't really have a really industry-centric publication like Wizard Magazine was in the 90s that really sort of educated you on how all this was going and how the business side of it was going.
I'm taking things slow. I'm trying to stay current.
Yeah.
And then picking one or two things to move backwards through time, man. Because like you mentioned earlier, it's very, very easy to get overran, and there's so much content out there.
Yeah, well, I mean, it kind of folded in on itself. I mean, in the late '90s, that comic book bubble, that market busted.
Yeah, and came back a few years ago.
Yeah, well, it didn't come back as strong because a lot of the independents aren't there anymore.
Well, and things have changed so much from '99 to today.
Yeah,
I mean, like just the way publications go. I mean, you don't need paper anymore.
Yeah, there's that too. But a lot of that influence that the independents had, there was from the '90s was the time for independent comic books, and I could go down the list of all the creators that you don't hear about anymore, but who had a big influence on '90s culture. And they're the reason why this is popular today. It wasn't Marvel, it wasn't DC, because no one cared about those books in the 90s.
Taking advantage of it.
Yeah. Had it not been like when everyone jumped ship and went to Image, you had some other artists that really stayed the course. I mean, that tried to keep the ship upright with Marvel and DC. DC fell off the map. No one cared about DC in the 90s. I mean, they had the death of Superman, then was like, and then, it was their Vertigo imprint that really kept DC going as far as the comic book side goes. That's where you had the Watchmen. That's where you had all those properties coming out of that made it to film. Red, The Losers, all those properties came out of something that wasn't mainline DC. It wasn't Wonder Woman. It wasn't Flash. It wasn't Superman. None of those books were selling. No one cared. They couldn't sustain good artists on them. They couldn't sustain good writers on them. Eventually, they did get some sort of foothold back in the market. Marvel was the same way. The X-Men turned into such a with Jim Lee's popularity on it, with Liefeld, with McFarlane, with what all these guys did to that book before leaving. Marvel's like, we can sustain 18 X-Men titles. We can make this happen with a different artist and different writer on every issue and no story arcs to keep it upright. But give it up, like the Kubert brothers, Andy and Adam Kubert, really kept X-Men going way longer than it should have. I think they're with their influence and Scott Lobdell and a lot of those other writers and artists that came on board kept X-Men going with I don't know how many titles for how many years before that market sort of imploded and the independents took over. There were everything from Valiant to Chaos to I want to stop this comic book rant at some point because no one's listening. But if there's someone out there that's listening to this podcast that's as nerdy and deep into the comic book side of it as I am, please see me at Comic Palooza. I'll be wearing the Jack King Kirby shirt, probably the only one.
And like our Facebook page.
Like our Facebook page. To touch on some social media stuff real quick, if you go to thirdcoastnerds.com, that's 3RD Coast Nerds, it will take you to our Facebook page. Please like it. And please follow us there. This podcast will be posted there. That may be where you found it because we're talking about the future. It hasn't happened yet. So however you found it, if you didn't find it through the Facebook page, go find that now and please like it and keep up with it there. We'll be posting a lot of the stuff coming up with Comic Palooza, some other news as well. But
I had to travel back in time to get here, so I've already heard it. As much as you said you hated time travel, I had to troll you with some time travel.
I've been thinking that the entire time. I'm like, he's mentioned it 3 times since saying I hate time travel, and I'm like, you're telling people to time travel.
So yeah, I'm sorry, comic book rant over. We'll go to something else. What else you got?
Well, main thing I had on my list was the Avengers, but we've done a pretty good job of talking for a long time without spoiling it for anyone.
Yeah.
So, do we want to leave it that way or not?
We could always spoil it next week.
We could. Maybe you'll have a chance to watch it this week.
Yeah, I'm watching it. See, it's Thursday, so I'm watching it either tomorrow or Saturday.
Okay, good deal. Well, I mean, we can hold off on that because, yeah, maybe some of my hate will subside. It's not bad. It's just that if you think about it for more than 5 seconds, you're like, why?
Well, it would. Damn you, Mike! Can't defend it.
And on that note, I think we're going to put a bow on it so we don't spoil it.
Real quick, kind of a serious thing. One of our close friends, Derek Smith, his daughter is going through some big health issues. It's not looking too good. She's got cancer, and right now we're looking for some alternative treatments. If you go to our Facebook page, at the very top, if you plan on attending Comic Palooza this year, there is a gentleman who will be there named Dr. Avis from the Pain Relief Associates. He will be there with his Mach 5 race car. He's got kind of an awesome copy of the Mach 5. He has offered anybody that goes there and gets a picture with it, it's a small fee. All the proceeds from the pictures that get taken with the Mach 5 will go to Penny Smith's cancer fund. So that's at the top of our Facebook page. Please go there. Please like it. Please share it. If you're at Comic Palooza, please keep that in mind. Look for the Mach 5. Get your picture taken. It's for a fantastic cause, and hopefully keep her in your thoughts. So, on that note, thanks for listening. Third Coast Nerds, and we'll see you next time.